unidentified flying objects and drones and aliens and fear and here, save us, government, save us. I will give you all of my rights. Just save me and save my husband and my family, my children. Hegelian dialect. Those who are in charge create situations and problems which cause fear. That the precipitating events will culminate that in order for us to save ourselves or our family, we're willing to give up our rights. And then they're gonna swoop in with the solution to the problem which they created. Hegelian dialect. In the most protected airspace, our government doesn't have a clue what's going on. The Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, Sir, do you want to explain to us why and how you are Jesuit trained? And tell the people, sir, how you attended Loyola Law School. You know, Loyola as in Jesuit, the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola. Don't forget what Abraham Lincoln said. If the American people could learn what I know of the fierce hatred of the priest of Rome against our institutions, our schools, our most sacred rights, and our so dearly bought liberties, they would drive them away tomorrow from among us, or they would shoot them as traitors. I know that Jesuits never forget nor forsake. Now, are you also aware that Pope Francis, he is the only pope who can wear both white and black because he too is a Jesuit, the first Jesuit pope. But I digress. I say that to say this: question everything. Don't be deceived, as Jesus warned us in Matthew 24. Have you ever heard of Project Bluebeam? The Project Bluebeam conspiracy theory, which claims the global elite plan to fake an alien invasion. This is my belief. I do believe that we are not the only planet that God created. However, we are the only planet that has been plagued. We have a virus, a sin virus. And until Jesus returns and cleanses this earth, we will still have the plague. So do you think other worlds are going to come and visit? No. And that's my personal opinion, but let's take a look at Operation Bluebeam.
This conspiracy theory was called Project Bluebeam, and it was written about by Serge Monast. Who was Serge Monast? Serge Monast was a journalist, a poet, and an essayist, and he was an active member of the Social Credit Party of Canada. He was a Canadian. And in the 1990s, he started writing on a theme regarding a new world order. He said that he received documents pertaining to NASA. And in 1994, he published what was called Project Bluebeam, NASA, in which he detailed his claim that NASA, with the help of the United Nations, was attempting to implement a new age religion with the Antichrist as its head and start a new world order. Serge Manas said that step one of Project Bluebeam was going to involve the manufacturing of artificially created earthquakes in strategic locations around the world. Again, to make it clear, he is stating in 1994 that the governments were in possession of technology that was going to be able to make this happen. The second step, he says, was going to involve a giant show from space. Essentially, they were going to use three-dimensional optical holograms that were going to project holographic images to beam across the sky, and that these images were going to include projections of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, and it was all going to merge into one. Essentially, they were going to be able to accomplish this by using space-based satellites, and it was going to make the entire sky transform into a massive movie screen. Even more far-fetched, he says that this is going to involve artificial intelligence. Again, I just like to state this over and over again. He was saying this in 1994. Artificial intelligence that was going to be able to use mind control to reach people inside of their minds. And this was going to involve rays from satellites that are being fed memories from our computers that have stored massive data about every single human being on Earth. Fourth step of Project Bluebeam was going to use various technologies in order to convince people that alien invasions were taking place, alien invasions, and even the rapture itself, thus making it easier for governments and the powers that be to take control of a fear-addled population.
Mercy.
The NASA Bluebeam project is the prime directive for the New World Order's absolute control over the populations of the entire
I would
Earth.
just like to tell you here that the rapture theology, which is part of the futurism view, actually came from the sea beast, the Roman Catholic Church. But I digress. Let's get back to Project Bluebeam.
So what's interesting about this, though, is that he publishes that book in the following years, in 1995 and 1996, he starts saying that he's being hunted by the police and the authorities for his involvement in networks of prohibited information. He then died of a heart attack in his home in December of 1996 at the age of 51. Just one day after being arrested and spending a night in jail. So they arrested him, something pertaining to his children not being in school, and then a day later he died. So obviously you can see that a ton of conspiracy theories regarding his death existed at that time. How bizarre. A guy says he's going to die, that he's being chased by the state. The state then takes his children to help him get a better public education, and then he ends up dead a day after being arrested and spending a night in jail. That's weird. It's weird enough for people to then start listening to maybe some things that he was saying. The phasing out of cash, not something that you would have possibly thought in the 94, but now something that seems very real today. I mean, they don't want you to remember this, but what a weird thing during COVID. Remember this whole, the media and lockstep telling you that cash was carrying COVID, that you shouldn't carry cash. This is how they sort of suddenly started everybody going to the grocery store. Now all of these machines appeared because cash is dirty and the cash is going to give you COVID, and people started believing this and you shouldn't be carrying cash. Well, he was saying this. He was saying that they would plan and execute a financial crisis, which wasn't going to lead to a complete crash, but it was going to allow them to introduce the idea of electronic cash, and that they wanted it to replace all paper.